and good evening. Welcome to the Thursday evening edition of Ridgecrest Talk. I'm Robert Eierman, along with my partner, Al Huey. And this evening we're going to go to a slightly different topic than we've been on for many weeks. And our special guest is Jim Rachels. Thanks for being with us, Jim.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Jim.
And we're going to be talking about the speed limit, the construction zone speed limit on China Lake Boulevard. And Jim is one of those people who, excuse me, who was ticketed for going faster than the 25 mile per hour zone or speed limit. So why don't you start off with just telling us about the ticket, how it came about, and then we'll go on with other things.
Okay, so I was in my vehicle with a friend of mine. We were on China Lake Boulevard. We were in front of the hospital, and actually the place where the alleged location of the offense was in the hospital before the curbing that's being installed actually starts. So there's actually no construction at all at that particular spot. So I was pulled over by a Ridgecrest police officer and was issued a ticket for driving 38 miles per hour in the 25 mile per hour construction speed zone.
Okay, and what time of day was this?
This was it was lunchtime.
Lunchtime, okay.
Yeah.
So a time when it's possible that workers could be present at that time of day. I'm not saying that they were,
Right.
but it wasn't at midnight.
It was not at midnight. That's
okay.
Correct.
And you had a witness.
That's right.
I think I heard that the police officer offered you just a warning.
Well, he told me that he was going to offer me a warning, and we had a conversation. I told him that my understanding of the vehicle code was that the temporary speed limit sign was only applicable while workers were actually present. Given that there were no obstructions to obstruct traffic, such as detour lanes or anything, it was only applicable during the times where workers were actually present. He disagreed with me, told me no, it's enforceable anytime, even 2:30 in the morning. Those were his words. It's always enforceable. And so since we had this conversation, he elected to go ahead and write a ticket for me.
Okay, all right. It strikes me that this would be like, and let me exaggerate for emphasis, this would be like giving someone a ticket for driving in a school zone, which is typically 25 miles an hour, some of them are slower, at 11:30 at night during the summer.
Sure, that's exactly right. I mean, I've got a couple of excerpts from the vehicle code here, and the vehicle code that talks about, the section of vehicle code that talks about construction workers being present, it actually says that it's applicable when the workers are at work on the roadway or within the right-of-way so close thereto as to be endangered by passing traffic. So the intent is pretty clear. The intent is to protect the workers.
Yes.
You don't want people driving at the normals at a high rate of speed when there's people there very close to traffic. Well, when there's no one there, just as your analogy about the schools, when it's 11:30 at night, there's no children present, then the lowered speed limit is not applicable.
Right, because it actually says in the sign when children are present.
That's correct.
But the point is although it doesn't say it on on the signs that they've put up, that's the intent of the law.
Well, it's more the intent; it's the black letter of the law.
Okay.
And I think we need to understand that a posted sign on the side of the road is not the law. The law
Correct.
is the vehicle code.
Yes.
The law is the vehicle code, and the law is the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. So, and the law's intent, and its clear intent over a long period of time, is that in California there is a strong inclination not to allow local agencies to just arbitrarily go place low speed limit signs and start writing speeding tickets to generate revenue.
Yes.
So whenever you have a construction zone with no obstructions and no workers present, and you put a construction zone speed limit sign out there, that's kind of exactly what that does. It sets an arbitrarily low speed limit. It does nothing to promote safety, and all it does really is it makes violators out of otherwise law-abiding citizens.
I would go one step further and say that that kind of activity by the police department almost, well, it fosters disrespect for the safety of the workers when they are present, because you're trying to apply it all the time. It fosters disrespect for the police force. It fosters disrespect for Caltrans. It fosters disrespect for, the contractor doing the job. It sends all the wrong messages, and it says, here we are, we're the police department, and we're going to nail you if we can, even if it's not justifiable. To me, that's the perception that they give off when they do this kind of thing. And that money, the chase of money, is more important than the workers' safety or good community relations.
Yeah, I think you're right, Robert, and I think that, and there's also case law that discusses the idea of unreasonably low set speed limits only has the effect, it doesn't have effect of increasing safety. As a matter of fact, just the opposite. Caltrans studies show that lowering the speed limit unreasonably actually increases the rate of accidents rather than decreases it. So it makes it more unsafe. But case law has cited several times that unreasonably lowering the speed limit only has the result of creating animosity from the public towards law enforcement and the courts.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I just wanted to mention, we got a break coming up here, but I would drive down China Lake Boulevard and go for thousands and thousands of feet, and there's nothing going on. There's no cones up. There's no nothing, but yet the speed limit signs are still there.
I mean the ones you can barely see.
Yes, that's another
right.
thing.
That's correct.
Those are illegal speed limit signs. They are not placed at the proper height, and I think the law also says that when they're not in use, they have to be covered, and we have to go to break. We have to go to break. So,
Okay.
We'll be back. Join us for our next segment.
Good evening and welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk with our special guest tonight, Mr. Jim Rachels, and we're talking about what's going on in China Lake Boulevard with the construction, excuse me, and the speed limit of 25 miles per hour. I'm sure you've all seen those signs. They're down about this high, and the regular speed limits that are up about 5 feet are covered over. So let's talk a little bit about that, the fact that those signs are so low to the ground. Is there any kind of legal requirement when they have a construction zone to post the sign where people can see it while they're driving?
Absolutely. So the vehicle code gives the authority to place a sign, traffic control devices to Caltrans and its contractors based on the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, or for short, MUTCD. So the MUTCD basically has the effect of law when it comes to setting speed limits and placement of signs. The MUTCD is very, very clear, and it's in, I can tell you real quick, it's in Chapter 6C. In Chapter 6C of the MUTCD, it says that if there's a curb, if there's a sidewalk present, the sign has to be at least 7 feet. The bottom of the sign has to be 7 feet off the ground. If there's no sign present, then no sidewalk present, then the bottom of the sign has to be at least 5 feet off the ground. And it does use the imperative shall, so there's no wiggle room in that it may be that high. It's clear.
Well, Robert and I would disagree on the shall.
Okay.
Oh,
Going back some years.
yeah, it goes back a lot of years. But it was the words around the shall and how the shall was used.
Shall is shall.
No.
Just like it is it.
Well, the
What's
Mutsy
it-
does even better than just use the imperative shall. It even has pictures.
Right.
So there's pictures and everything. So the signs are placed inappropriately, and the law only gives Caltrans and its contractors the authority to set a lower speed limit in construction zones if appropriate signs are used. So since the signage is not appropriate, it's my understanding of the law, and it's my belief that they're not applicable anytime, even when workers are present, because of their placement. And then since the 40-mile-an-hour speed limit signs are covered, they're not applicable either. So the only speed limit on China Lake Boulevard right now that's actually legitimate and enforceable is the maximum speed limit, which is 65 miles an hour.
I'm going out there this afternoon. No, I'm.
Where's that posted?
The maximum
it's
speed
the law.
limit is just it's part of the vehicle code. It's on any highway. The maximum speed limit is 65 miles an hour. On a 2-lane highway, and it's 55 miles an hour, unless otherwise posted,
Okay.
because they can go up to 70 or so.
So, this is a rhetorical question. Obviously, you can't answer it. Why would the Ridgecrest Police Department use their authority to, and I'm going to use a word that's maybe a little bit beyond the situation, to attack the citizens rather than going after Caltrans contractor to do things right? Why not?
You know, Rob, that is a really good question. I don't have a good answer for that, although I have asked that very same question of the Ridgecrest Police Department. And I've posed it in such a manner that my understanding is that Ridgecrest Police Department is supposed to be law enforcement, and enforcement of laws, not just enforcing laws against citizens who will actually have to pay a fine and pay money to the state, but enforce laws, period, which includes enforcing laws as they pertain to other state agencies
Now,
and their contractors.
Posed that to the Ridgecrest Police Chief?
I pose it to the, I did pose it to the police chief, not in this particular incident, but prior. And but for this particular incident, I posed it to the supervisory traffic officer.
And his response?
Crickets. Just nothing.
Oh, silence.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard that response before. Yeah, it always comes when they're wrong.
Yes, silence is usually the response when you don't have a legitimate argument to make.
And,
So,
and-
you went to the traffic court and they ruled against you.
That's correct.
And the next step now is?
I've filed a notice of appeal, and I'm in the process of going through appeal.
And
that would go to
set for that.
Superior Court.
That goes to the appellate division of the Superior Court, and or depending on the weight of the case, they have the option of either adjudicating the appeal at that level or handing it over to the appellate court.
Okay, but this is in Bakersfield, so you get
Yes.
to make a trip to Bakersfield.
No, usually these things are done just via the documents, so it's pretty much done through the mail. There's rarely oral arguments in a fraction case.
But in your appeal, you give your argument against.
That's right. It'll be done in writing. Yes.
So let's talk about implication. All right, let's say you win your appeal. Does that have any impact on all the other people that were ticketed?
On the people that were ticketed, no, because from the legal perspective, if a person went out and was unjustly accused of violating the law, and they either pled guilty or they went to court and they were found guilty or what have you, and then it's later found by an appellate court that was wrong,
Uh-huh.
well, that doesn't change a guilty
Okay.
standing for a previous case. It would change future enforcement, and it would change the rules by which a lower court would have to adjudicate a case by in the future, but not a past case.
Okay. So they can't get their money back is my point.
You can't get your money back.
And they probably well past their period or their time of appeal if they had fought it and were convicted.
Yeah, you only have, I think it's 30 days. You only have 30 days
Okay.
from the time that
So they're
the judge
just
says
they're
guilty.
just out of luck.
You're just pretty much out of luck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's about time for us to take a break again. Join us on the other side of the break when we continue with Mr. Jim Rachels, and we might talk about something a little bit different.
And welcome back to our final segment here on Thursday evening edition of Ridgecrest Talk. Again, I'm Robert Eierman along with my partner Al Huey, and we have special guest Jim Rachels. We're talking about the speed limit on China Lake Boulevard. And before we wrap up on that subject, I just wanted to mention that Chief Strand or anybody else there at the police department that wants to come in and be on air with us and, quote, defend their current behavior, you're more than welcome to. Just call the station. They'll get a hold of us. We'll set it up. We'll be more than happy to give you an opportunity to present your side of the situation.
And just so you know, I'm in favor of you guys. I think he's wrong. I'm just saying.
No, that's not what he said off air, but okay.
I don't want a ticket.
Me either. I figure we're making ourselves huge targets here, but nah, Chief Strand, he's above that kind of thing. So, anyway, was there anything else you want to quickly say about that situation?
You know, it's just, I think the intent of the law is clear that the purpose is to protect workers. It's frustrating to me, and I know it's frustrating to every other driver out there when you have construction work taking place in about a 200-yard segment and then a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit for 2 miles.
Yes, that is absolutely ridiculous, and like I said, it is distinctly counterproductive to the safety of the workers. And my opinion, the police department and the courts should be
Yes,
ashamed of themselves for endangering those workers.
Yes, I
by
agree.
fostering this kind of situation, which is not good for the principal, and it's only bad for the police department and for those workers out there.
And Jim Rachels.
And it's bad for you too.
And I'll tell you, crawling along at 25 miles an hour on China Lake Boulevard for the entire length of it is a royal pain.
I might add, just as a side note, some years ago, someone I know real closely, 7 o'clock at night, got stopped in the school speed zone for going over the speed limit.
Very interesting.
That's just
Here in town.
yeah. That's just wrong. I mean, it.
Didn't get a ticket, I got a warning, but just saying.
Well,
I didn't see one kid out there.
well,
But 10 minutes earlier, there might have been. You never.
Yeah.
they may have been having night school at
Yeah,
the
right.
elementary school.
Okay, we haven't got a lot of time left. We had you here before. and
Well,
we ta-
he was going to be a guest and he couldn't make it. He got.
no,
right.
we had him on here. We talked about it, didn't we?
No, not yet.
Oh, I thought we did. Anyway, you're working on another project, I'll call it,
Yes.
or idea having to do with the police department. Can you share with us a little bit about that and what motivated this here locally?
Sure. See, several months back, maybe a year back, I started talking with the previous council about the idea of a commission for police accountability, an oversight commission for police accountability. Unfortunately, every one of the council members on the previous council were all in agreement that they thought it was a bad idea because they trust their police officers. And they thought that this would create an atmosphere of distrust with the police.
I trust my IRS too. I'm not comparing the two. My point is, we certainly don't need the IRS because everybody will just pay their taxes.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
No one will do any wrong. I would think that the police department and the city council would welcome this kind of thing because it, especially with the things going on today, it gives them another arena of transparency. It gives them another way to assure the citizenry that there is no skullduggery. You know, that's just bad rumor. We can prove to you that that's not the case. And so I would think that an intelligent council and police department would welcome this.
I agree. I would think so also, because right now, the process is if you have a complaint against the Ridgecrest Police Department, you file it with the police department investigates themselves, and they make a determination, and that's it. So we have the same problem that's nationwide right now. The people of this country are frustrated with the lack of police accountability, and we're frustrated with the idea of police investigating themselves, and more often than not, come to determination that we did nothing wrong.
Yeah, what's that? The blue wall or
The thin blue line.
the thin blue line? Yeah, everybody knows that exists.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to say that it doesn't exist is you must be living on the planet Zor or something. So, what could possibly be wrong with a well-executed police review commission?
I can't imagine what would be wrong with it. There's probably 20 to 30 cities in California that have these review commissions. I've been talking with some of them about modeling a commission here in Ridgecrest similar to what's already existing. But you know, there is an issue here. I mean, we live in a small town, and you don't see it a lot, but there are issues of concern.
Let's talk about one of those.
Sure. Okay. So a couple months after I started talking to the previous council, an incident occurred. It occurred last October.
Okay.
Last October, where a gentleman was at a bar, he was inebriated, he took a cab home to his house, being responsible. He couldn't find a way into his house. He lost his key, from my understanding. Somebody saw a guy that looked like he was trying to break into a house. Police were called. Ridgecrest Police Department showed up, and they basically arrested him.
We only have about 40 seconds, so please be aware.
So they arrested him. They ended up, they took him to the hospital, and the man was beaten badly by the Ridgecrest Police Department. However, they never charged him with anything. As a matter of fact, they released him saying there was no evidence he committed any violation. I brought this to the attention of the mayor, told her it did not pass the smell test. We talked about this for a couple of months, and interestingly enough, the Ridgecrest Police Department changed their mind and decided to charge him 6 months after the fact. And it happened to be about the same time that the mayor came to the conclusion that no, she doesn't support an oversight commission either.
Boy, talk about not passing the smell test.
It doesn't only not pass; it stinks to high heaven.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, we're going to have you back again, and we'll talk more about this oversight committee.
Yeah, and we'll be glad to have the mayor come in and talk about this.
Absolutely. Join us next week right here on Ridgecrest Talk.